Ryobi is on half the workbenches in America. Rigid is those orange tools stacked to the ceiling at every Home Depot. Two of the most recognized tool names in the country, and the company that sells them doesn't own either one. It rents them. The Ryobi name belongs to a company in Japan. The Rigid name belongs to Emerson. The tools themselves are built and sold by a Hong Kong corporation called Tektronix that just licenses the labels and hangs them on the shelf. You've probably never heard of Tektronix. That's exactly how they like it, because Tektronix and one other company, a conglomerate over in Connecticut, sit behind more than 30 of the tool brands lined up on that wall. The ones you think are fighting each other for your money. 30-plus brands, 2 owners. And the biggest names among them, they don't even own. They lease, like storefronts on a street, where you always assumed every shop had a different landlord. So before you spend another dollar in that aisle believing you're choosing between rivals, let's do the one thing they're counting on you never actually doing. Let's count. I'll name the brands, name the 2 companies cashing every check, and then show you the handful of real tool makers left that still answer to nobody. Start on the Connecticut side. The company is Stanley Black & Decker, headquartered in New Britain, Connecticut, and founded all the way back in 1843. Here's what they own: Stanley Black & Decker, DeWalt, Craftsman, Bostitch, Porter Cable, Irwin, Lennox, Mac Tools, Proto, Facom. That's already 11 names you'd swear were separate companies, and I haven't touched their outdoor side yet. Add the lawn and yard brands they scooped up: Cub Cadet, Troy-Bilt, Hustler, Big Dog. We're past 15. One company. Now the Hong Kong side: Tektronix, or TTI, Milwaukee, Ryobi, Rigid, AEG, Empire, Imperial Blades, Stiletto, Kango, Hart, Homelite. That's 10 more before you even get to their vacuum brands: Hoover, Orek, Dirt Devil. Stack those 2 lists together, and you sail past 30 tool and equipment brands owned or controlled by exactly 2 corporations. When built to compete, you'd expect these companies to be at each other's throats. They're not at each other's throats because, for most of that wall, there is no each other. There's a company in Connecticut and a company in Hong Kong, and a whole lot of different colored plastic in between. That's the trick the title promised you. Here's the part that's actually worse, because some of those 30-plus names, the 2 giants, don't even own. Go back to that Tektronix list. Milwaukee they own outright. Bought it in 2005, and it's a wholly owned subsidiary. Fine. But Ryobi? The Ryobi name belongs to Ryobi Limited, a Japanese company, and Tektronix pays to use it. Rigid? Emerson owns that name and makes the red rigid plumbing tools you've seen. Tektronix makes the orange rigid power tools under a license. AEG, the pro brand they sell overseas? That trademark belongs to Electrolux. Yeah, the company that makes your refrigerator. And it's used under license, too. You don't have to take my word for any of this. Tektronix says it themselves in their own investor disclosures. Every trademark they list except AEG and Ryobi is owned by the group, and those 2 are used under license. That's the company admitting, in writing, that 2 of its most famous brands aren't its own. Think about what that means for you standing in the aisle. You could walk out with a Ryobi drill and a Rigid shop vac, feeling like you shopped around, and both names on those boxes are rented by the same Hong Kong corporation from 2 other companies entirely. It's not a marketplace, it's a stage set. And once you see that these companies treat the name on the box as a costume they can rent, put on, and take off, one very old story suddenly makes a lot more sense. Rewind to 1990. Black & Decker had a problem no amount of engineering could fix, and it wasn't the tools. Their professional power tools were fine, competitive on specs, solid build. The problem was the name on the side. No contractor wanted to be caught pulling a Black & Decker out of his truck on a job site, not when that was the brand on his wife's dustbuster and the toaster on his kitchen counter. The tools worked. The name was poison. So an executive named Michael Hamas, who'd come over from Chrysler, brought an idea he called the Acura concept. The same move Honda pulled to sell luxury cars without the Honda badge on the hood. Black & Decker still owned an old, dormant tool name they'd bought back in 1960 and stopped using: DeWalt. Research said something like 7 in 10 tradesmen still recognized it and still trusted it. So they didn't redesign a thing. They rebadged, took tools from their existing Professional and Kodiak lines, dropped them into bright yellow housings. Yellow because it reads as safety gear on a job site and pops on a store shelf. Stamped DeWalt on the side and added a longer warranty. Joseph Galley, the guy who ran the launch, called it the biggest initiative in the company's history. They rolled out 32 portable tools in 1992. Same guts, new name, new paint. And it worked so well, it turned into one of the most successful relaunches in the history of American manufacturing, a brand that today anchors the entire company. Sit with that for a second. If a new label and a coat of yellow can spin a flagship brand out of tools that couldn't move the week before under a different name, then the name on the box was never really the point. The name is the product. And once a company learns that lesson, the logical next move isn't to build better tools. It's to buy up every name on the shelf. Which is exactly what both of them did. Watch how fast. In 2000, Tektronix bought the Ryobi power tool business for North America. In 2005, it paid Atlas Copco about $626 million for Milwaukee, a brand founded in Wisconsin in 1924, a genuine piece of American industrial history, now owned outright by a corporation in Hong Kong. Around 2003, it picked up the license to make Rigid's orange power tools as a Home Depot exclusive. Brand by brand, license by license, a company almost nobody can name assembled a wall of tools everybody knows. The Connecticut side moved just as hard. In 2010, Stanley and Black & Decker merged in an all-stock deal valued at roughly $4.5 billion, creating what's now the world's largest tool maker. In 2017, they bought Craftsman, the most trusted name in American tools for generations, out of the wreckage of Sears for around $900 million. And in 2021, they completed the acquisitions that handed them the outdoor aisle to MTD, the parent of Cub Cadet and Troy-Bilt, for roughly $2 billion. Here's what none of those press releases said out loud. When Tektronix bought Milwaukee, Milwaukee didn't stop looking American. When Stanley bought Craftsman, Craftsman kept the same logo your grandfather trusted. The whole point of buying the name is that you get to keep selling the feeling the name gives people, the heritage, the loyalty, the they don't make them like they used to, long after the they who made them is gone. You're not buying a company anymore, you're renting a memory, and you're paying for it in ways that go a lot deeper than the sticker price. Here's where it stops being trivia and starts costing you real money. Look at the cordless tools in your own garage. The battery on your DeWalt drill will not run a Milwaukee saw. The Milwaukee pack won't drop into a Makita. Ryobi's battery fits Ryobi and nothing else on earth. Every major brand runs its own proprietary battery, its own shape, its own contacts, its own locked-down electronics, and none of them talk to each other. That is not an accident of engineering. It's the most effective loyalty program ever built because it doesn't need your loyalty. It just needs your batteries. Once you've bought into one brand's platform, every new tool you add is cheaper if you stay. And starting over with another brand means rebuying every battery you own, so you don't switch. You can't, not without eating a small fortune. And those batteries wear out in a few years of hard use, which means you're back at the same shelf, buying the same brand's replacements, sending your money right back to the same corporate parent, Connecticut or Hong Kong, that owns the whole platform. That's the genius of the setup. They don't have to win you over twice. They win you once, and the battery in your hand does the rest. Let's deal in facts that are on the public record, not vibes. On December 22, 2025, the U.S. Department of Justice, working with the Consumer Product Safety Commission, sued Stanley Black & Decker in federal court in Maryland. The allegation that the company knew about safety problems with two of its products and didn't report them to regulators as fast as the law requires. The two products were a line of utility bars and a line of DeWalt miter saws. On the utility bars, regulators said there were at least 56 reports of them breaking, including 4 injuries, and that the company waited years to report it. On the miter saws, about 1.3 million of them built between 2019 and 2022, the complaint says the rear guards and plastic deflectors were breaking during use, with reports of laceration injuries piling up. What makes this one land harder than the usual recall? This is the first civil lawsuit of its kind the Justice Department has filed for this specific reporting violation. They don't normally sue. They did here. Now, I'm going to do the thing Stanley Black & Decker's louder critics won't, their side. The company denies wrongdoing. It says it reported these hazards once there was an actual pattern to see, and that it worked with the CPSC to issue recalls when that pattern emerged. That's their position, it's on the record, and you deserve to hear it. This is an allegation in a lawsuit, not a verdict. But it's a serious allegation brought by the federal government, and it exists. And it lands next to a second pattern that isn't in dispute at all. Remember when Stanley Black & Decker made a big show of bringing manufacturing back to America? In 2019, they announced a brand new factory in Fort Worth, Texas, over 400,000 square feet, built to make craftsman hand tools in the USA. It opened in 2020. By March of 2023, they announced they were closing it, about 175 jobs, as part of a cost-cutting program aimed at $2 billion in savings. Then came the one with the symbolism you couldn't script. In early 2026, the company moved to shut its last manufacturing plant in New Britain, Connecticut, the town that's been its home since 1843, putting around 300 people out of work. That plant mostly made tape measures. A cost-cutting machine that swallows heritage brands, reshores manufacturing for a photo op, then closes the factory, including the one in its own hometown, is not a company optimizing for the tool in your hand. It's optimizing for a number on a spreadsheet. So if the entire wall is engineered to funnel you toward two parents who think like that, what are you actually supposed to buy? You stop shopping by the logo, and you start asking one question before you spend $1. Who actually owns this, and who do they answer to? Ask that, and a short list of real independents rises to the top. Here are 3 worth your money. Makita. Founded in 1915 in Japan, and here's the part that matters. It was never swallowed. Makita isn't a division of a conglomerate. It's its own publicly traded company on the Tokyo Stock Exchange, still run out of the same region of Japan, more than 100 years on. And these aren't followers. Makita launched its first rechargeable power tool, a battery drill, back in 1969, when the giants were still selling corded everything. They rolled out the 18-volt lithium platform in 2005 and one of the first brushless motors in a cordless tool in 2009. When you buy Makita, you're buying from a company that answers to its own engineering, not to a portfolio manager balancing 30 other brands. Hilti. You've maybe never seen one at Home Depot, and that's the whole point. You can't. Founded in 1941 in Liechtenstein by the Hilti brothers, the company is still controlled by the Martin Hilti Family Trust. No public shareholders demanding a bigger quarter, no private equity owner stripping it for parts. And they refuse to play the big box game entirely. Hilti sells directly to contractors through its own people, even leases tools to job sites through a fleet program. It's a completely different model, built for the pro who needs the thing to work on Monday, not for the impulse buy on a Saturday. Festool, the premium end and the best story of the three. Festool traces back to 1925 in Germany and has stayed in the founding Stoll family the entire time. Never gone public, still run under a family holding company in the same corner of Germany where it started. And here's the kicker. In 2017, Festool's parent bought SawStop, the company that invented the table saw that stops its own blade the instant it touches skin, fast enough to turn a lost finger into a nick. That's the safety technology the big saw makers spent years declining to put in their own products. The independent family company is the one that owns it. None of these will ever be the cheapest thing on the shelf. That's the trade. But not one of them is going to quietly swap metal for plastic to protect a stock price, because there's no stock price to protect. So here's where we landed. More than 30 tool brands on that wall, run by two companies, one in Connecticut, one in Hong Kong. Some of the biggest names among them, rented, not owned. A battery in your garage designed to keep you from ever leaving. Heritage brands kept alive as logos long after the companies behind them were sold for parts. And a federal lawsuit sitting on top of it all. The two giants aren't afraid of you knowing they're big. They're afraid of you counting, because the second you count, the wall of competitors collapses into two names, and the illusion is the whole business. So do the thing they're betting you won't. Flip the tool over. Find out who really owns it. And when you find one of the few companies left that still answers to nobody but the person holding the tool, that's the one worth your money. If this changed how you'll look at that aisle, subscribe. We're pulling the curtain back on another industry next, and I promise you, it's rigged in exactly the same way.